Starting with the 90-90 hip stretch. That's 90 degrees for both knees. Find yourself in a seated position with your left leg 90 degrees in front of you and your right leg 90 degrees to the side and back. You're going to bend your left elbow down to the ground, reach overhead with the right arm. I gotta warn you, this cramps and this hurts, but the more you do this, the better it feels. Generally, I switch from side to side because I can't handle that much work on one side. So take it really slow and easy with this. Again, switch sides, 90-degree angles with your knee and your leg, and then drop that right elbow down, left arm overhead. You're going to feel that cramp. And so stay here as long as you can. If you have to keep switching sides, the more I've done this, the more mobility I have, the better I feel. The 90-90 targets the deepest layers of the tissue in the hip joint, and sometimes stickiness can occur and impact movement. You can also sit in that 90-90 position and do isolated knee raises, just raising the knee, and you can hold it. You can drop it for a few seconds, raise it again. Do what you can here. You don't want to push through pain, but there is a little bit of discomfort with this movement, so start really slow and carefully. And the next position in the 90-90 is the isolated foot raise. So keeping everything on the ground and trying to raise the entire foot and lower leg off the ground. You may only be able to get an inch or two. And so again, be careful with this, go slowly. Don't push too much. And like what I do is I tend to switch sides pretty regularly because I can't handle too much work on one hip. Next, I like to do some kneeling hip sits and really push the hips back, get a nice side body stretch in. This also releases my lower back a bit, so I just kind of pivot around here just a little bit to loosen things up. It feels good. Next is the prone hip extension. This is a small isolated movement. You don't want to arch your back. You want to make sure your hips are tilted forward and under. You're going to bend the knee and raise the foot. This, if your hamstring is cramping, you're not engaging your glute, and you shouldn't feel your lower back arch. You really want to feel this in your glutes and glutes only, and make sure to engage those. Again, this is a really small isolated movement. The next pose, Pigeon Pose, is a classic runner's pose. You can sit upright as you draw your left knee to your left arm and your left ankle to your right arm, kind of stretching across with that leg extended, your right leg extended behind you. You can fold forward, do what you can in this position. Stay here for as long as you can. This is a nice stretch to do, kind of stretching everything for those of us that like to run. And again, on the right side, right knee to right hand and right foot to left hand. Try to keep your hips square in the pigeon pose and try to keep your bent leg as parallel to the top of your mat as you can. Next, I like the kneeling fire hydrant. This is a great glute strengthener. You don't want to arch your back. This is a pretty simple move that I like to do before or after running or anytime I can. Child's pose is always a nice place to go to, kind of in between movements, give your body a break and a little bit of rest. You can take a few breaths here. Coming to the standing poses, the standing hurdles, I'm much better standing on my left leg, lifting my right leg. So you want to act like you are hurdling your leg over something. Be really careful not to tweak your knee. This is a great hip rotation. And again, standing on my right leg, which is my weaker leg, and then lifting that left leg as a hurdle, I have a lot less mobility. You can see I'm not able to twist that foot up and over. I kind of keep it just bent. And so working on mobility on that side. I also like outward knee raises, another great hip rotation. Pivot that right foot with the toes pointing outward. Raise the knee. And then the next move would be pivoting that foot inside, pointing the right toes in towards the left leg and raising that knee. And finally, we have standing oblique elbow to knee. This is a nice hip rotation with a side body stretch and some kind of core strengthening in that oblique.